Namaste, dear listeners, and welcome to the IWA channel Astro In with Abhi, Oneness in Astrology and Spirituality, bringing in awareness by Abhi. Today, we're going to talk about the five elements water, earth, air, fire, Akash. Akash is the ether. Um, Akash is ether. Ether and Akash is not space, dear listeners. Space is Shiva. There's a huge confusion about Akash, what Akash is. So your middle finger is directly related to Akash, which is the ether. Ether is a transient body between the material and the bliss body, right? So look, we're going to talk about the five elements once again: the water, earth, air, fire, and Akash, which is the ether. So the question is how to work with these elements, how to make them work for you. Now, look, if you've been listening to me for some time, if you've been part of my TikTok lives, if you've been listening, if you've been reading my content on Awareness by Abhi, this is something that I've always been writing and talking about. But it's not a 1 day, 1 month, 1 year thing. It's an ongoing thing. So, uh, as with consistency, you start to get more profound, or your experiences are much more profound. So, how I've described it a year ago and my experience then is totally different now. And if I'm having a conversation about this year after a month or two, or maybe a year from now, my experiences should be more profound. Why? Because uh, life is an endless experience now, isn't it? So I'm going to talk about how to make the elements work for you. And a lot of you might be a bit chuffed about this because it is so simple. And how I got to understand the elements within me is very, very simple. Firstly, breath, air. Now, if you look at these elements that I've described, fire, water, earth, um, ether, the element of ether is not space, right? That we must understand. So once you understand that much, the difference between the ether and space, then you can understand what you are, right? Now, what I would like to describe, it makes up about 72% of the body. So our body is made up of earth and earth and that which is the gross body. But in that gross body, 72% of it is water. And then you've got air going in and out without your control. Unknowingly, air is going in and out. If you actually look at it, air doesn't respect our privacy, and neither does. In fact, none of the elements respect our privacy because the body is growing without our consent. It's just growing. It's aging. The fire or life force in us is either going higher or lower. It's changing. We've got control over it, but how many of us do? Well, you can control it. That's the reason why I'm doing this channel. And then you've got the ether. you know, the ether is the fifth element, and if one is not interested in the mystics of life, you don't need to worry about it. You can just worry about water, earth, air, and fire. Water, air, earth, and fire. You don't need to worry so much about that. About Akash, which is the ether. So it's very simple. Firstly, I like to describe this as paying attention to breath. Remember, the fire in us is what we are, the life force, the pranic energy, the pranic body. In order for the prana body to have much life in it, or life, what we are, means fire needs air. Fire needs air to grow or to get more stronger. Now, when you pay attention to the breath going in through the nostrils, and you pay attention to the breath going out, after some time, when you're consciously aware of these things, you can begin to master the element of air. How much of air is needed? How great you want your force to be? Taking deep breaths in, expanding the lungs, brings you a great deal of vital force. Now, I've done a separate live on how water is impacted by movement. A simple thought, a simple word changes the molecules, how water vibrates. So when you're conscious about the water and you are speaking positive into water and you absorb this into your system, water begins to work for you positively. But how many of us are actually thinking positive while we're drinking water? Or are we just gulping it down? The same goes for the food body, the actual food, the earth element. When you're consuming food, are we just gulping it down without paying attention? It's very good to pay attention to the food. It's in front of you. Don't just gobble it down. The actual prayer is being grateful that it's there, but also understanding its impact to your body. Just look at that food. Understand that it's going in your body and it's going to become your body, part of your body. So by being mindful of that plate of food in front of you, so mindful, you start to decide what you want to eat. You would move away from eating unhealthy foods because you are now accepting that it becomes part of your body. When you're consistent about on this practice, it's very easy to give up unhealthy food when you are paying attention to what it does to your body. Now that we've discussed the water, the fire, and the earth element, we can go into the fourth body. So we've discussed water, earth, air, and fire. Actually, we can go into the fifth body. Now, the fifth body is not material. It's the transient phase. It's neither material, neither it's not. It's a transient phase. By paying attention to these four elements, as I have explained through meditation, you enter into the fifth element. You transcend out of the material into the etheric field. And from here, with consistency in your meditation, you become one with the bliss body, which is nothingness, which is space. There was another question I received some time back, the human composition of the elements within the body. Now, look, I could be wrong here, but based on my awareness, as I've explained, 72% of the body is just water. About 12% of it is earth. Only about 6% or so is air. And the rest, which is 4, which is fire. But by understanding how the life force of fire, which is the element within you, the lowest, you can make that do wonders for you by increasing your life force. And you've seen people that do practice chi meditation, pranic meditation, chi meditation. They're able to break box and move, exaggerating here, but move mountains with just their hands. You'll see that. So to live well, you have to understand the four elements, and how to work with them is relevant. It can do wonders for you. And based on my experience, meditation is number one. And paying attention to breath. You must pay attention to breath. Breath is the giver of life. Life is the fire in you. Without breath, the fire in you is no longer. So by paying attention to breath, something will happen to you when you pay attention to breath as much as you can. Everything starts to make sense thereafter. So gaining control and mastering these, you first got to pay attention to breath, and then everything starts to make sense thereafter. Remember, also this, you do not need to use your logical mind to understand all of this, but just use your experience. Surrender your logical mind, use your experience, and from your experience, whatever you're experiencing, you can understand it based on your experience. Don't try to think of anything. Just experience and make judgment of what you're experiencing. So that's how I'd like to describe it. So thank you very, very much, dear listeners, for listening to me. Remember, this is Awareness by Abhi. This is not the end all and be all. Probably by next year or so, I might describe this in more detail. But based on my current state of consciousness, this is how I'm describing it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Ram. Hari Bol and goodbye.